2023 was the hottest year on record. Month after month, records were broken about the highest temperature overall for a month on record. This had so many other effects, such as the severe weather, which caused the greatest number of billion-dollar disasters, and incidents like the record wildfires in Canada, whose smoke blanketed cities in the northeast U.S. As these unusually warm temperatures continue into January of 2024, how will this affect wildlife? Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to make an analogy for a few seconds, which I think will be helpful. Right now, you're looking at a ski hill in mid-January. If it looks odd, that's because it should be covered with snow. This is one of the major hills at this small mountain, and by mid-January, the mountain should be fully open, especially since much of the money to be earned is during the Christmas vacation when many college kids are home. Note, however, that this hill is nowhere near ready to be opened. It was almost open, and there was a huge snowstorm which helped, but a couple days later there was a huge rainstorm that, as you can see, washed all of the snow away. Can't more snow be made? Well, the answer is not until the lows in the evening drop below freezing, and if that's not the case, no new snow can be made. Just ponder for a second the effects of this. Once again, this is not a billion-dollar disaster, but there are effects. This will cost money to the ski resort, for ski rentals and sales, for individuals who work as ski instructors. But then also just think, a resort has cooks, waiters, waitresses, bands which play at the bar. Nearby there are houses which were bought because they offered access to the ski resort, or which might be rented for certain weekends. Nearby there are schools with ski teams. There are scout troops which plan days at ski resorts. There are families planning on going vacation. For some kids, this may be their first job. Here you can see a green slope, a beginner's slope, but notice it is nowhere near ready, and so many individuals who might have been able to develop their skills and to have skiing as a sport which they enjoy for the rest of their lives might not do so. In other words, the unseasonably warm winter is going to have many effects, and many of which are indirect and difficult to measure. Many of these effects will never truly be fully known. Now, if you notice the Audubon Sanctuary at 6½ Station in Orange County, New York, this is not usual for mid-January. In mid-January, this area historically has been frozen. But notice, it is open water. In the past month, it has been mostly open water. It has come close to freezing and then subsequently melted. But clearly this is having an impact on the wildlife in the area. This lake where I am kayaking should be frozen in mid-January. In fact, historically, it would freeze early December, not thaw until March, mid to late March. But not only am I kayaking, but waterfowl and bald eagles are still utilizing this habitat. Not only has it been unusually warm, it has been unusually wet since late summer, where many areas are simply flooded to varying degrees that would otherwise be dry, and some of this flooding can be severe at times. So with this ski analogy in mind, how might climate change affect wildlife? And the video I'm going to start with in the background are of short-eared owls and a harrier hawk hunting for rodents over a marsh which has been flooded and, because of how warm it is snow-free. How might this wildlife be affected? Well, maybe some birds are staying in the area rather than migrating south because it's warmer and they can find food. Maybe some birds, like rough-legged hawks, may not be in our area this winter because they've stayed north because they could continue to find food there. How are the rodents being affected by their burrows being flooded? Might this make them more vulnerable to predation? Might rodents with the warmer temperatures be able to feed more and have more offspring? Is it easier for the harriers and the short-eared owls to catch rodents? In which case, what will that do to rodent numbers and the hawks which hope to feed on rodents this spring and summer? How will plants be affected by being flooded and frozen in areas which are usually dry? How will insects, including insect eggs, be affected by this? If the water is not frozen and there are waterfowl and herons and eagles which are staying in our area who would otherwise migrate or only be found near running streams, how will this affect the numbers of fish, frogs, salamanders, turtles, etc.? Will they benefit from warmer temperatures? Will they be hurt by more predation? And then my final point is, I don't know. And at this point, no one knows. Science doesn't claim to know all the answers. If you're in a science class, this is what I tell my students. It's not as if, your teacher, your textbook knows everything and you simply have to absorb it and spit it back. No, science is a search to understand the natural world. We don't currently understand those aspects of the natural world which are staying static. But when it comes to ecology, with human population growth and climate change factored in, this is constantly changing. We have no idea what the future might bring, especially given that so many of the effects are going to be indirect ones, like in that ski analogy that I had used. And so, if you are someone who observes wildlife in your backyard, at your bird feeder, on bird hikes, etc., you could actually have a role in helping our society to better understand what the impacts of climate change and human population growth and increased use of chemicals and salts and pollutants, etc., are having on the natural world.